Announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic. But this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes.
Hi guys, it's your girl Blizzy and you're welcome back to Blizzy on Filter channel. If you are joining us for the first time, you are welcome. So guys, something big is really happening in America right now. October 2025 saw the highest number of layoffs in 22 years. Over 153,000 people lost their jobs, and that's not just about number. That's 153 lives flipped upside down overnight. But here is the craziest part. It's not just about money. It's about power, system, and who gets left behind when the economy decides to adjust. So guys, let's get into more videos.
We have some breaking news right now. Terrible morning for the United States economy and the job market and the Trump administration as a whole. Job cuts for the month of October totaled 153,074, according to CNBC. That's a 183% surge from just September, 175% surge from October of last year, the highest level for any October since 2003, and the worst year for layoffs since 2009. This is the worst October that the United States economy has had in terms of job cuts since 2003. This is the worst year for the United States economy in terms of job cuts and layoffs since 2009. That's the year after the Great Recession. This is why Donald Trump is changing his tune on affordability. This is why we saw the results we saw on election night just 2 nights ago. Spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio. Subscribe for free. Follow along, stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about.
Announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic. But this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition. But the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade. Retail's up there, as is services at 64,000. You take out the Doge cuts, the number's a bit better at 800,000, but still well above last year. Challenger doesn't see much in the way of hiring, saying announced plans are 35% below last year, and they're skeptical about the number of new hires for the holiday season. For some on the Fed, this data, together with other reports, could be the sign they're looking for of job weaknesses about whether to cut in December.
Well, here's some bad news for the orange buffoon and his fascist cult. We've got some new numbers about the job market. In October, there were job cuts, a whole lot of job cuts. Check this out from CNBC. Job cuts for the month of October totaled 153,074, a 183% surge from September and 175% higher than the same month a year ago. It was the highest level for any October since 2003. This has been the worst year for announced layoffs since 2009. And what happened in 2009? Well, that was following the Great Recession. So this genius businessman who people voted for because they thought he was going to fix the economy If by fix the economy you mean get a bunch of people laid off and inflation increasing and unemployment on the rise, well then yeah, bang up job.
About the health of the job market. Steve Leisman joins us with the latest numbers from Challenger on job cuts. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is like a clue from like a cough or a sneeze or whatever. But announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic, but this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition. But the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade. Retail's up there, as is services at 64,000. You take out the Doge cuts, the number's a bit better at 800,000, but still well above last year. Challenger doesn't see much in the way of hiring, saying announced plans are 35% below last year, and they're skeptical about the number of new hires for the holiday season.
153,000 jobs gone in October. That is the most in more than 2 decades, according to the latest data out of Challenger Gray and Christmas. But is it AI that's to blame? Is it automation? Some are saying that this is actually AI washing. Yes, it is tech warehousing, where we've seen a lot of jobs go during the month of October. Look, UPS announced an astonishing amount of jobs to go, 34,000, and more to come in corporate parts. You've seen Amazon announcing 14,000 jobs to go, Rivian, other tech companies. But is this actually just a right sizing of overhiring during COVID? Is this, as the economy is on tenterhooks, as we see the consumer pull back ahead of the holiday period, is the labour market just more broadly slowing, and that's why you're getting calls for interest rate cuts? And is it being blamed on automation and AI rather than it actually really being about automation and AI? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because you are hearing others stand out from the crowd. Look, Jamie Dimon over at JP Morgan. You've seen Doug McMillan at Walmart say, look, we're not actually going to be reducing our workforce. If we do AI right, yes, every job is going to change, but actually we're going to have the same amount of total employees. And in fact, the WEF, World Economic Forum, thinks that on net, we will add far more jobs because of artificial intelligence and the productivity gains that we'll see. So is this really tough time that we're feeling in the labour market because of AI and automation? Or is it a nice blame factor to cover up previous missteps? Let me know.
Job market in 2025 is completely cooked. I just saw this article on LinkedIn that actually estimates that we have lost over 1 million jobs in 2025. This is literally the worst month of layoffs in 20 years, so even worse than what we saw during the pandemic. According to one of the outplacement consultancies, they have cited that the adoption of AI and automation across corporate America is driving more layoffs than we've seen in decades. The problem here is this has gone on for the last couple of years, so the more people get laid off, the less jobs there are, which makes it even more competitive. The sad thing is we haven't even hit Thanksgiving, which during that holiday period, we are going to continue to see 5-figure mass layoffs. So you don't need to take my word for it. You can just read what's actually going on in the world and how many layoffs we're seeing. Corporate America in 2025 is absolutely cooked. The job market is brutal, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better going into 2026. Please share this with someone who you know that's working in corporate America. And please, if you've been laid off, let me know what you think in the comments.
Disastrous economic news for Donald Trump. Last month, October, the month that just ended a week ago, we saw the worst layoff numbers in 22 years. Not since 2003 have companies cut as many jobs as they did last month. Employers cut about 153,000 jobs last month. You might say, well, maybe it's a seasonality thing. That's why we compare to October of the previous year. October of 24, there were 55,000 layoffs. October of 25, 153,000 layoffs, the most in 22 years. Here is a report from CNBC about this news.
This is about the health of the job market. Steve Leisman joins us with the latest numbers from Challenger on job cuts. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is like a clue from like a cough or a sneeze or whatever. But announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic, but this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition, but the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade.
Doesn't that sound so good? We're finally winning again. But let's contrast this with what Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, told us last night, which is everything is so good, you can't even believe it.
The economy is on fire because of Donald Trump's economy is one that says tariffs, come on, build in America. You know, the president's been saying north of $15 trillion coming to build in America.
Right.
That's going to grow our economy more than 4%. It could grow our economy more than 5%. I mean, these are numbers no one's ever thought are possible for America, and it's driven by Donald Trump's trade and tariff agenda.
Yeah. That is acutely delusional. That's almost 72-hour psych hold delusional.
So this shows you that we're shifting from growth at any cost to efficiency at any cost. So these are recent layoff announcements. Look how many employees companies are getting ready to lay off. Majority or almost all of these layoffs are due to AI. So if you're young, I would start looking into things like AI automation, AI, just anything in that field of cyber tech and AI.
Did you hear that last month was the worst October for job cuts since 2003? That's right, since 22 years ago. It's all according to a new report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. Let's break this all down. I'm Brooke Tavama. I'm a financial journalist for Yahoo Finance. And this report from this firm held pretty significant weight because we did not get that jobs report from the BLS today because of the government shutdown. Now, in this report, it said that those layoffs were led by tech, retail, and warehousing. And a few of the reasons it blamed, well, one, AI, we're hearing a lot of buzz around that. Also cost cutting, closures, restructuring, and also just market conditions in general as consumers spend less. Now, last month we heard from a slew of different companies like Amazon, Nestle, Target, that they were all announcing layoffs. And year to date, job cuts have now surpassed 1 million, and that's the most since the pandemic. If you liked this, follow me for more.
We have an October surprise. Layoffs in the United States surged to a record high. U.S.-based employers cut over 150,000 jobs. This is the largest amount of job cuts in over 20 years. Now, these job cuts are primarily from the tech sector and the retail sectors. But either way, this is bad news. Now, a lot of these job cuts were due to cost-cutting measures and AI. But the biggest amount came from, guess where? Doge. Yes, the Doge job cuts. The layoffs in October surged 175%. Over 153,000 folks were laid off. From the beginning of the year until now, over 1 million employees have been let go. That's almost double what it was in 2020, during the pandemic, when Trump was the president. Let me repeat, job cuts are at the highest level they've been since 2020. That's when there were over 2.3 million jobs.
This job market is actually disgusting right now. This October has been the worst October for layoffs in 22 years, and this year has been the worst year for layoffs since 2009. I applied to a job back in June, and they pretty quickly reached back to me with an interview. From there, I had multiple interviews with this company going all the way until the end of August. After all of that, they reached out to me and said, we have good news and bad news. The bad news was that they decided to go with someone else for the role, but the good news was that the team liked me and they wanted to create a new role that I could fill. After about 3 weeks of waiting to hear what they would say about this new role, the recruiter reached out to me and told me that the hiring manager went on paternity leave. That's fine. So I waited, and about a month and a half later, I reached out to them and asked if there were any updates if the hiring manager was back from paternity. And they've ghosted me. They're not responding to my emails anymore. 5-month-long process, just hoping that I could get something, and they ghosted me in the end. I get a lot of advice from people on how I should go about applications, how I should structure my resume, what I should do. But it feels like no matter what steps I take, companies are just not hiring right now at all. That's not going to discourage me from applying. I'm still going to try my best, but really is not a fun job market to be in.
150,000 layoffs in the month of October. The worst since 2008. If you're Gen Z, I'm sorry. On the other hand, I feel fucking happy that 3 years ago I decided to leave my job at Lamborghini to start doing real estate, and most of all to start doing this. First of all, because I built a job out of it. Secondly, because I knew that the job market would be fucked in the next couple of years. At the moment I tested out ChatGPT, I knew it would grow fast. Like people said 10 years, 10 years, bro, 2. In the past 2 years, because of AI, I was able to learn the equivalent of shit that you learn in college in 10 years. I was able to duplicate myself. Guys, last year, just in my Italian social media, I posted 30,000 videos in 1 year. Not because of an avatar, because I was able to create content using AI to learn things and just put them out on social media. 30,000 video. The average marketing team makes a video every couple of days. I make 80 a day, 80. October, 150,000 layoffs. Guys, this is a wake-up call. First of all, if you have a job, you should be searching on the job market every day, even if you like your job. You should have options all the fucking time open, ready to leave in case you get laid off. Secondly, you should be able to do your job as a freelance too. Thirdly, you should have a side gig. This is not an option anymore. This should be mandatory. If you have an office job, you are at risk no matter what. Guys, yesterday I played with an AI that gave me more advice on all of the tax things than a CPA. Somebody that went through a super hard exam to have a license. By the way, I know this shit because I studied tax law in America. Only thing I was thinking about doing the CPA exam. Thankfully, I went into social media and I'm still curious about taxes, and I gotta say, tools are becoming better than people. 150,000 layoff. This is a wake-up call. And most of all, and here's the most important skill, this is for Gen Z. I know you guys are socially awkward. Learn how to talk to people. That is the number one thing that will get you to places, because if you're not able to talk to people nowadays, you're worth nothing. Nothing.
According to Bloomberg, U.S. companies announce most October job cuts in over 20 years. Over 20 years.
So guys, companies across America like tech, retails, manufacturing, even healthcare are cutting workers like never before. Some are saying it's because of AI replacing jobs. Others say it's cost cutting to keep profits high. But behind all that corporate talk is a simple truth. Every day, people are paying the prices for decisions made in boardrooms. Think about it, guys. CEOs still get bonuses. Executives keep their luxury homes. But the workers, the people who actually make things run, are being told, we have to let you go. Families are panicking. Rents are due. Groceries keep getting more and more expensive. And somehow, we are still told the economy is doing great. It's like they are living in one America and the rest of us are surviving in another place. Here is what I need you to understand. Nobody is safe from layoff anymore. To be the hardest worker, the best at what you do, and still get replaced, that doesn't mean that's the end. It's a moment to wake up, learn a new skill, build something that is yours, create value that can't be replaced by AI or cut by a company that doesn't even know you. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe. See you guys in my next video.